Good morning, everyone. I'm Tejaswi Indu. I've come here to discuss a little topic. Now, if one were to open their mobiles and just check on the current affairs, you will most likely find news articles on Wayanad landslides or landslides or avalanches in Himalayan region or the most recent Uttarakhand tragedy. But if you were to look at non-Indian news articles, you would find Cameroon landslides or Philippines landslides or Switzerland landslides. Now, when we step forward and look deeper into considerations with landslides and India, you'd find, according to ISRO, that India is the fourth most country with highest landslide risks. It accounts for up to 8% of global landslides fatalities and has about 13.17% of susceptible area for landslides, with 4.75% land area being very highly susceptible to landslides. Under this consideration, you'd find that Kerala happens to be the most vulnerable state, with about 14% of its land under the risk of landslides. Now, stepping forward, what does this mean? This brings up many questions. What are landslides? Why are they caused? How can we ensure that they don't happen anymore? And what is the government doing about this? The first question in this journey of the topic. What are landslides? Are mass movement of land, rock, soil, water and debris due to the influence of gravity. It's just falling off all these materials because of gravity. What are they caused by? Why are they caused? So when it comes down to it, the factors that may cause landslides can be divided into man-made factors and natural factors. Under man-made factors, we have obviously tourism, which sometimes includes unsustainable or unregulated activities that may cause landslides, mining, and there are also other activities like of human or developmental activities that may cause landslides, or just destabilize sensitive areas, specifically areas like Western Ghats. And there's also poor drainage system, which sometimes can be caused due to human activities. Under natural factors that may cause landslides, we have volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, or soil erosion, and just natural morphology of a region being very sensitive to landslides, and other reasons, so on and so forth. There are far more reasons that I'm not mentioning, but these are few of them. Now that we've seen factors, let's consider the consequences of landslides. Consequences in relation to landslides can be divided into short consequences and long-term consequences. In short-term consequences, we have altering of natural beauty of the landscape and destruction of railways, railway lines or roads, or obstruction in some cases, that is hugely cumbersome for transportation. And there's also changing of courses of river or blockage of channels, and most definitely the most extreme consequence would be loss of damage, loss of property and loss of lives. When it comes to long-term consequences, there are problems with locating sources of water because of landslides, and economical consequences wherein one loses their cultivable land or farming land, etc. Now, moving on. We've seen the consequences, we've seen the factors, which brings us to the burning question: how do we stop landslides? Or how do we avoid landslides? Or even if landslides do happen, how do we recover fast? So when it comes down to mitigating measures, there are multiple mitigating measures under landslides, starting off with sustainable practices, sustainable activities or tourist activities, sustainable human activities, highly regulated developmental activities, which required researched back ones to ensure that whatever activity is being done will not cause huge environmental damage. For example, construction of multi-purpose dams in highly ecological sensitive areas will cause a huge biodiversity loss. So that is one of the ways to ensure that further destruction or landslides will not be caused. Landslides are usually caused in highly sensitive areas. They're due to some localized factors. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, mining is one of the major causes for landslides. Moving on to other mitigating factors would be to ensure that the natural hydrology of an area is as unaffected as possible, because a good drainage system is important to ensure that landslides do not happen often. And there's also to ensure that as less deforestation happens on slope areas or hilly terrains, and or ensuring, if deforestation is unavoidable, to ensure that there's afforestation of fast growing plants. If the plants are not fast growing, afforestation in such slope areas will not make much difference. So fast growing trees, and there are other measures include retention wall. Now this is a very short term measure wherein we can ensure that the required support for a hill or a slope area is given so that the lands won't slide down due to gravity. Other measures include government initiatives to encourage at community level or at tourist level, so that more sustainable practices will be ensured, and obviously to give more importance to information given by Kasturi Rangan committee or such committees when they say that this area needs to be more carefully taken care of. In the race for development, we should not destroy the environment, because that will backfire on us, and one of the disasters through which this backfires is landslides. So far under the topic of landslides, we've considered what is the definition of landslides, what are the factors of landslides, and why. Once we've considered the factors, we've considered the consequences. And after considering all this, we've considered the mitigation measures. There are far more mitigation measures adopted by a lot of other countries too, but I've covered a few of them only. And lastly, now let's consider a very brief view of what are the government initiatives in regards to landslides. Firstly, we have National Landslide Risk Management Strategy 2019, which is a very comprehensive, which gives very comprehensive information on landslides. There's also Landslide Risk Mitigation Scheme and Flood Risk Mitigation Scheme, which are both schemes that are under work. And the first scheme is focused on giving financial support to localized landscape management projects, while the latter scheme is focused on giving support to pilot projects for multi-purpose flood shelters and all that. Now, moving on, there's also the National Guide on Landslides and Snow Avalanches, which is also a very comprehensive guide, and it's developed by National Development Management Authority of India. It gives very comprehensive guidelines in covering aspects like hazard management, hazard assessment, vulnerability analysis, institutional mechanisms, financial support systems, community participation, etc., etc. Now, moving on, there are also other things that one might consider when it comes to mitigating landslides, which is community participation. So in order to find out if an area under risk of landslides, one can simply just browse the highly susceptible, low to medium susceptibility and other areas list that can be easily accessed, or they can access information from ISRO's landslide atlas. Actually, I've given information at the beginning of this video on basis of ISRO's information on it. And there's also India landslide susceptibility map developed by IIT Madras, which also gives information on prone areas. For example, ISRO's landslide atlas also gives informs us that Himalayan area and the Western Ghats area is highly prone to landslides. Now, these are few of the ways through which we can, at a community level, learn about areas that are more susceptible to landslides and take on projects. which will help mitigate them. Now, landslides are disasters that cause due to highly localized factors. Often, an integrated warning system cannot be implemented simply because it's not very cost effective. But putting that aside, there's always community measures to ensure, or just take a step forward to ensure that it's not as destructive as it could be, and that landslides don't turn hazardous. And for that, the first step is knowing, and that's what we're doing here. Please do subscribe to 21st Century Educational Society YouTube channel for more updates and informative videos as this. Thank you for watching the video.